So moving on, time to talk WWE Survivor Series, the 36th annual Survivor Series. We talked, on the audio version of the side only about the history a little bit before this YouTube video that we're about to put out, and the rest of this audio version about the history of Survivor Series, how it used to be a Thanksgiving night tradition, and then a Thanksgiving Eve tradition, and then obviously moved to Sundays. Now it's going to be on Saturday night, as just because that's what every WWE pay-per-view is. And I'm a little surprised actually where it is located on the calendar. I guess maybe Crown Jewel did this, but normally, you don't. When it comes to like American Thanksgiving, it's normally I guess, on a regular traditional weekend. You don't normally come up into essentially a holiday weekend with a WWE pay-per-view. And being on a Saturday, it even comes closer to being. It's closer to Thanksgiving than it ever has been before. Except, since they've moved away from Thanksgiving, it's now closer to Thanksgiving. So for the first time since 1994, it's the closest to Thanksgiving that it's ever been. It's only 2 days away, you know what I mean, from it. So it's going to be this Saturday night in Boston. I don't know the last time Survivor Series was in Boston. I do know the 1993 Survivor Series at the old Boston Garden was there. But it's definitely a very highly anticipated, one of the more highly anticipated Survivor Series in a long time. And, obviously we have WarGames at the event, but, I started talking to some people about Survivor Series and didn't even really kind of think about it. But Survivor Series, if you think about it, has a tradition of debuting or, bringing out new things. Obviously, we saw the debut of The Undertaker at Survivor Series. The Rock at Survivor Series. We saw the debut in WWE of the Elimination Chamber at the Survivor Series.
Hey, don't forget, going back to hit memory lane, 10 years ago, 10 years
Shield.
ago, the Shield 2012, that was their debut, and look at all three of them now.
The fact that Survivor Series is using the WarGames is kind of, on point with, using Survivor Series as a point to debut something into WWE. I'm surprised, like Hell in a Cell, it debuted a month earlier. I'm surprised they didn't save it till November and have it debut at the Survivor Series. They did debut Screwjobs, I think, for the most part at Survivor Series 1997. There's been a few since, and they've been tailored after the 97 one. Whether they're as realistic as the 97 one is your interpretation. But either way, it's a pay-per-view with a lot of interest. They toy around with the brand, battle, which for now they are done with, so you don't have to worry about buying your Raw or SmackDown branded T-shirt heading into this one. It's just regular matches. In fact, it's kind of strange here, but no traditional Survivor Series match on this card. Obviously, the WarGames match is a team versus team, but we're not doing the 5-on-5,
I like
matches.
this, though. I
do like this, and maybe that's probably why the tickets for this event are so expensive. Last year, obviously, the get-in for Survivor Series was around $50. As of right now, it is not $50. It is about $150. It is completely sold out, TD Garden in Boston.
That's awesome.
And from what I'm been hearing as well is that we could end the night with the women's WarGames match, which would assume to me that we're going to start the night with the men's WarGames match. But let me quickly, because I know you've seen WarGames in NXT and other places, and obviously it's from WCW. They just used it too also in AEW, calling it Blood and Guts. Are you a fan of the WarGames that they've been using in WWE with the cage without the roof, or would you like to see a roof on this thing?
I like it without the roof. I think there's more opportunity for better spots and bigger spots, and by all reports that I've been seeing out there, WWE is looking to have a few major spots done at this show, because if you go back to the WarGames in NXT, a lot of those big spots were by competitors who are no longer in the business, so you can't even use that archival footage for future WarGames because they're not going to show somebody that might be in AEW, for example. So from what I've been hearing, there's going to be some big spots that are going to happen. So I think having no roof on the cage, I think it's going to create some really cool spots. And and my thing is, if they're going to have the women's, I'm going to call it the Survivor Series WarGames match, it's going to have Becky Lynch, right? Like, you got to have Becky Lynch.
So here's the question. So they're going to put it out on Friday night accordingly, that they're going to say who the next member, the last member of that team
is. Why don't they just wait?
My question is do you think the name, if they debut it on Friday night, will be less impactful? Like, meaning, if they say they're going to put it out on Friday Night SmackDown, do you feel that name is going to be less impactful as if they said we're going to just debut it at Survivor Series? Would you have higher anticipation if they're waiting for the pay-per-view itself for who that name is?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. My thing is, I'm hoping maybe they'll do a little swerve, and they're just gonna, they'll say, yeah, we're gonna announce it on SmackDown, blah blah blah, and then something happens and they just never get to it, and they're like, well, I guess you'll hear Michael Cole say, I guess we'll have to wait till till the match happens to see who the final entrant in the match is.
So for the women's War Games, the heel team, if you will, Damage Control with Nikki Cross and Rhea Ripley, they have the advantage thanks to Rhea Ripley's win over Asuka at the main event on Raw this past Monday. Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Mia Yim, and TBA. Who are some of your realistic expectations for TBA and your hopes for TBA?
I still think it's Becky Lynch. I don't have any other name in mind, to be honest.
Boston.
Becky.
Yeah, I mean, I think Becky. if you are gonna bring out Sasha Banks, you definitely got to save that for Saturday.
I get that it's Boston. I get that, but like you said, Sasha Banks. Maybe they wait for another pay-per-view. I don't know. I will say this. I think you can't go wrong if it's Becky or Sasha. Sasha, obviously, because she still has that star appeal, obviously.
Yes.
That's where she's from, all that. So WWE would hit one out of the park if it's Sasha or Becky. If it's anyone that's not Sasha or Becky, and thanks for reminding me, because I didn't even think about Sasha, to be honest, until you mentioned it. If it's neither one of those two, then to me,
so Liv Morgan is a disappointment.
Yes. Yeah, to me it is, because why would you drag this whole thing out? Like, who's going to be the last member of the team if it's not somebody big? You know what I mean? Like, nothing against Liv Morgan, but I just feel like here's the thing. It probably, now that you say that, it'll probably be Liv Morgan, and maybe because of that, maybe they move the men's match as the main event. I think the women's match will be the main event of the pay-per-view.
If it's a big name.
If it's a big name. If it's Becky, if it's Sasha, easy money at this point.
So,
and here's the thing: they could, if they don't do anything on Friday night, they could tip their hand by, making it the main event. And then you're like, okay, at this point, it has to be someone big, because why would they wait? Why would they put this in the main event if it's just,
some fans in the audience on Raw were hoping that WWE tips their hand for who it is in a way without essentially giving it away, but like saying something like, this Saturday, we'll have somebody, who will be, the man we want for the job, or something, like that, kind of tipping their hand a little bit, but
I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't that to me, I don't need that, because I just want to be completely surprised. I know we've talked about it in other episodes, but to me, I like surprises, and I've always enjoyed the surprises. So even if you you leave little seeds or little notes that are like, okay, it's getting us to think, then here's the thing. Wrestling fans, a lot of us, we're pretty smart. I feel like we understand the business pretty well. And the other issue is there's a lot of, ungrateful fans, but that's another topic for another day. But when you leave too much, you put too much information out there, you're going to tip your hand. So leave it the way it is. Just leave it completely surprised and leave it organic. I mean, the only way the hand's going to get tipped that it's a big name for me is if it's Saturday, it's Saturday night, and it's literally, the main event of the show.
So the men's War Games match, the only person essentially returning that's been in War Games before, we saw it at a big one in, I think it was 2019, is Kevin Owens. He was in one of the NXT War Games. He joins the Brawling Brutes and Drew McIntyre. Obviously, there's been a lot of rumors about Kevin Owens' recent injury at a house show. Do you see them sticking with Kevin Owens in this? Do you think that he's fully healed from that and he's ready to go? Or do you, what do you make of that? And what do you see this team beating the Bloodline again? No championships on the line, so they can essentially lose without losing anything heading into this match. I
will say this. I mean, I think there's two layers to the Kevin Owens piece. it's the dirt sheets ruling him out way ahead and way premature, and that's why that's one of the many reasons why I feel the way that I feel about a lot of the dirt sheets. They're
Well, they
trying to
didn't
get.
rule him out. Remember, I read that
They
he
said
was
they.
hurt.
I read multiple of those dirt sheet writers that were pretty much saying it's unlikely that he's going to be there. So like it was making people believe that Kevin Owens was not going to be a part of it. And then the second part of it is, I do think he's legitimately injured, but I think Kevin Owens is just one tough SOB, and I think he's gutting it out. I think that's part of it. I think it's kind of two layers: the dirt sheet community doing what they do. But in a sense, I do think they have some part of it that's correct, that he is injured, obviously. But I think the other part of it is I think Kevin Owens is just gutting it out.
Do you see, like last year, obviously Big E as champion against champion Roman Reigns? No championships were on the line, so I thought obviously we're going to get the face, Big E getting the win, because it doesn't hurt, obviously, Roman Reigns in any way. But they still gave it to Roman Reigns because it's still about the optics. It's still about making Roman Reigns looks good. So I have to think that they're still going to give this to the Bloodline and want to keep them looking good, right? Or do you say, this is the night where you guys can go down, especially, too, because Roman Reigns isn't going down individually?
I would say the Bloodline's going to continue winning. I feel like what's going to happen, and I know Kevin Owens was trying to dispel this on Raw this past week, but I get this weird feeling, that something's going to happen. Maybe not like Kevin Owens helping the Bloodline, but something's going to happen where Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn look at each other, and Kevin Owens is going to hesitate just enough for the Bloodline to take advantage, and then that's where the tide turns. That's kind of where I'm thinking it happens. I don't think it's going to be one of those things where Kevin Owens is definitely joining or being friendly with the Bloodline, because he's got unfinished business with the Bloodline. But I wouldn't be surprised, because they've made it obviously known that he even made it known that Sami Zayn is one of his best friends and and everything like that. So like, to me, there could be a situation in there where it's possible where if they get ready to throw down, Kevin Owens hesitates, helps in a way indirectly helps the Bloodline, turn the tide and win the match.
It's going to be fun either way. I think I just like the sight of like the two rings in the arena. Like if I end up going, which that's the plan for Saturday night, if I end up being there, it's just going to be something cool to see two rings. Like it's you don't see that every day. You just don't go to wrestling shows and see something especially set up specifically for one match.
Hey, speaking of set up, how do you like the way they're setting up Austin Theory these days? Austin
Theory was great on Monday night. I thought he had the amazing promo. I after him losing the Money in the Bank, I was very down.
We both were.
I thought setting him up against Rollins and Lashley, though, he just seems gritty, seems tough. He's great on essentially on the mic, if you will, but in the backstage promo that he did where he looked right at the camera. And I'm ready for this match, and I'm ready for all three of these guys, especially Theory and Rollins.
Yeah, I am too. And here's the thing: this might not be a popular or I'm going out on a limb, but I think Austin Theory. There's two things one of two things, or actually both things, could possibly happen. He's going to put on a hell of a show because he's that darn good. I don't know what it is, but I just got this feeling that he's walking away with the championship. I just feel like they're building it up for him to take that match. And I think
I like his talk about why he cashed in and the whole 9 yards, kind of not just sulk as a loser, but kind of keep the thing going. And he's in this match for the United States title.
And the thing is, they spun it in a way that worked, because they could have just let him just sit in the back and catering like so many and let him sulk and all that stuff. But what I see what they're doing with him is great, because yes, he lost the Money in the Bank, which obviously is not a good look. But it was like a bad thing to make him change his perspective, and it's made him, I guess, like he says, I'm not that guy anymore. I'm this guy. Like this whole, it's like a new Austin Theory, and because he took a tough loss and lost the briefcase, I love that WWE is building him up into the star that I've seen for so many years in him. I think the kid's he's gonna be one of the pillars for WWE. We're gonna be talking about him in the next 10 years.
All right, wrap this up pretty quickly. We got AJ Styles and Finn Balor, obviously the OC versus the Judgment Day. I'm surprised we're not just getting the OC versus the Judgment Day, seeing that this is Survivor Series, but I think because of the WarGames matches, they're giving us AJ Styles and Finn Balor with those guys inside. Do you see them getting involved and making this have to be a one-on-one match at a pay-per-view down the line in a more, cage match or traditional way? Or do you see them, going at it and really having a good match?
I really hope it's going to be a good match. I don't really know at this point what's going to happen. I feel like there's going to be some sort of interference where I hope the referee just throws both teams out and says, no, you both can get the heck out of here. And I just want to see Balor and I want to see Styles just do what they do, and that's put on a show. Because that match right there, that obviously the War Games matches are probably going to be what people are looking at for the best matches of the night. But if we can get a really good AJ Styles, Finn Balor, true one-on-one style match, this could easily be the match of the night.
Ronda Rousey against Shotzi. Do you see? I mean, I've been hearing some rumors that Shotzi might get replaced last minute, just for, again, similar to that War Games match, some effect here to try to bring out a bigger name in that aspect. Do you see it being Ronda versus Shotzi? And obviously, do you see? I mean, I see Ronda just winning if it is. Do you see any last minute changes to really hype up anything with that?
No, I don't. I think the match is gonna be Ronda versus Shotzi. And there's no chance in hell that Shotzi's walking away with the win. I can't see her winning the match. It's not going to happen. Ronda's going to win. But to your point, if the rumors are true, maybe it's a double night where you get a Sasha Banks and a Becky Lynch. So I guess we'll have to see what happens.
Some rumors are there because there's only 5 matches on the card, and luckily WWE's been pretty good with that lately and sticking with low matches, no pre-show matches, that kind of good stuff. But right now, LA Knight and Bray Wyatt are kind of feuding, and we just saw Bray Wyatt at the Clash or at the Crown Jewel, just making an appearance, just to keep Bray Wyatt's stock up. He's an important character. They don't want to leave him off pay-per-views, right? If you have the Undertaker working on a weekly basis, you have him at the pay-per-view. So you have Bray Wyatt. I don't necessarily know if that would help or not. I mean, him being on the card in some way, would help. But if he's on the card in a match with LA Knight and we're immediately just doing this right away, we're just having matches with Bray Wyatt and kind of not seeing where this, this character goes as it has before, where it's like months of buildup of a real character development, and he's just in the ring with LA Knight. I don't think that helps his character.
No, I don't think a match is happening. I think what's going to happen is they're gonna do some sort of segment where it's gonna build to a match to a later date. I just don't see a match happening.
Yeah, I want more character development with Bray Wyatt right now. I think that's my thing.
And LA Knight too. LA Knight's good. I think the pairing of LA Knight and Bray Wyatt, I think this could be really good. I just think WWE should be smart and maybe just make it into another segment where they're building it up to an eventual blow off at another show.
So you love Survivor Series. You talk about it so much. It's one of your favorite pay-per-views. Never been one of mine. But what is your favorite Survivor Series moment in its 36-year existence?
Well, we just touched base on it a little bit earlier. It's the 10-year anniversary of the Shield. I remember that night vividly. And to me, it put the wrestling business. It kind of flipped the business over, man. Like the Shield with those 3 guys looking at where they are now and what they've done in the last 10 years. The Shield to me could go down and should be going down as one of the greatest factions of all time. And I'll never forget that debut. I thought it was one of those moments where, as a fan, I was kind of like I was kind of, how you get to those points where you're like, what am I doing? Why am I watching this still? Because sometimes you just get really frustrated with the way the product is. And a night like that with the Shield, you're like, all right, I'm locked back in.
When you saying flipping over, I thought you were going to say Survivor Series 2000 when Stone Cold lifted up Triple H in the car and flipped him over. There's been a lot of good Survivor Series moments. There's been a lot of bad Survivor Series. I would probably say, I'm a big fan of like the 02-03 Survivor Series. 03 had a really big build, but I think 02 was really good. You had the Garden. You had Saliva doing like a live performance. You had the Elimination Chamber making its debut. It just felt that was one of those. There's a few of them that feel big time. Survivor Series is not like WrestleMania. Some years it feels like, TLC and nothing big. And then some years it feels like the Royal Rumble. This year, I think it is one of those years where it feels big. It feels like a big time event. The ticket prices are definitely a staple for that. They're very expensive. The place is completely sold out. It's not TV side only like it can be sometimes. This is a full crowd, and they are excited for Survivor Series War Games this upcoming Saturday night, and so am I.